Did I start recording? Yes, I have successfully started recording. So, Ashok ji, please start.
Start Meher Baba ki Jai. The seven realities: existence, love, sacrifice, renunciation, knowledge, control, and surrender. I give no importance to creed, dogma, caste, or the performance of religious ceremonies and rites, but to the understanding of the following. 1. The only real existence is that of the one and only God, who is the self in every finite self. 2. The only real love is the love for this infinity God, which arouses an intense longing to see, know, and become one with its truth, God. 3. The only real sacrifice is that in which, in pursuance of this love, all things, body, mind, position, welfare, and even life itself are sacrificed. 4. The only real renunciation is that which abandons, even in the midst of worldly duties, all selfish thoughts and desires. 5. The only real knowledge is the knowledge that God is the inner dweller in good people and in so called bad, in saint and in so called sinner. This knowledge requires you to help all equally as circumstances demand, without expectation of reward, when compelled to take part in a dispute, to act without the slightest trace of enmity or hatred, to try to make others happy with brotherly or sisterly feeling for each one, and to harm no one in thought, word, or deed, even those who harm you. Sixth, the only real control is the discipline of the senses to abstain from indulgence in low desires, which alone ensures absolute purity of character. 7. The only real surrender is that in which poise is undisturbed by any adverse circumstance, and the individual, amidst every kind of hardship, is resigned with perfect calm to the will of God, given by Meher Baba in 1952. Avatar Meher Baba ki Jai.
Avtar Meher Baba ki Jai. Nice to see you, Praveen. I wanted to call you after we met, and I never got an opportunity. Hope all well on your side. Uh, Good morning to everybody. And we start with the continuation of the theme of reincarnation and karma. So we have finished parts up to part 5, and then we have two chapters that we do in sequence before we get to part 6. We finished the problem of sex last time. Then we are doing sanctification of married life and probably part 6, hopefully today. Coming to uh, yeah, so Ashok had a question, so I thought maybe it's a good time to put it down for everyone's benefit so that they know how to navigate discourses the way we do it, right? The way we do it, yeah, right. The way MBA does it, okay? So if how do you do it? Just grab any video of ours, right? Any discourses video, and here's a video where yeah, this is 37. This is literally last week, right? So if you go to any video, and this is how it looks, you go to the description bar. There is a description every video has, right? So this is a video uploaded 6 days ago. There is a description. So once you click more, it opens up depending on your app, either below or on the side. So if you see on the side here, it gives you all the information that you need to track and work with us. And that's how people like Praveen got in touch with us, right? So what happens here is, first one is Trello. Trello will open up a public copy of the Trello board. Second, all our live readings, the meeting that we are on now, people can click and join anytime. They don't need any login. Third, you can connect to our discussion group on WhatsApp. No, this is the announcements group. This is the community, Meher Baba Awakens community. Fourth, you can connect on WhatsApp to chat with us. That's the discussion group. Last but not the least, there's also Telegram. So all of this, someone who's seeing the video can jump in and explore. The on discourses specifically, because of the way we do it, there's a lot of rich content available on Trello. Now, what is Trello and do I need a login? I am not logged in. Can you see the top right? I am not logged in. This is the public page of Trello, which is now open to all, right? Someone can come, click on this and see getting started with Trello and understanding this board. There's a video. So you can click the video, get used to what's going on here. Why and then go to what we are doing with the chapters and the themes. And then I think the rest of it is pretty self-explanatory. Just for the record, for everybody, all of us, most of us, the regulars know about it. So the small color coding on each of the cards tells you whether we have finished reading in 21. I mean, in 24. So the little blue one means that we have finished it for 20. We are reading discourses the third time. So the light blue icon means that we have completed it. And this is how many we have completed, going from left to right. And we are now in the last three themes. And in the current theme, we have one, two, three chapters. I hope this is a good refresher for what can be done for the people on our regular group and anybody watching us online. Yeah.
Thank you, Karthik. I think this will be go to a lot of people, whoever wants to, navigate this.
Yeah. Any questions, any thoughts, any ideas? Like you had ideas. See, I keep adding more and more to this board. I realize that page numbers are a handy thing to have in each chapter. So you have a page number now. So under reading details, so you can literally go into the PDF and search for 104. 104 is the page here. So if you see, this is page number 104 right here. And hence it makes it easier for someone navigating. So the idea is to make it as stitched up and as comprehensive as possible, and a good reading companion or a learning companion. It's not casual reading. It's for serious reading companionship. This whole tool. Okay. So with that out of the way, let's just see what are the subtopics that we are going to address in today's reading. Kama, any thoughts from your side? You're the bro. Okay, Kama is on mute.
I have to have a look at it. I'll give my comments later. Okay, Baba.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Now let's just see the subtopics in the chapter. Married life, a spiritual experience. Married life, utterly different from promiscuity. Married life calls forth sublimation. Conditions of marriage precipitate conditions in inner life. Married life must be in line with the divine plan. Married life enriched by children. Birth control. Physical means remove incentive for mental control. Mental control indispensable for rising from passion to peace. Joint responsibility of parenthood. Children must be welcome. Physical means become addictive. And then finally, spiritual advancement through married life. So let's get started. Is that Nomita on the call? I think yes. I hope you're feeling better. How are you?
Jai Baba, all good. Thank you for asking.
Very good. Very good. Thank you so much. Okay. So, any volunteers to read? We are starting on page 104. Ashok, you want to read?
Okay.
Please.
Uh, this is the chapter, The Sanctification of Married Life. Subtopic, Married Life, a Spiritual Enterprise. Most persons enter into married life as a matter of course, but marriage will become a help or a hindrance according to the manner in which it is handled. There is no doubt that some immense spiritual possibilities are accessible through married life, but all this depends upon having the right attitude. From the spiritual point of view, married life will be a success only if it is thoroughly determined by the vision of truth. It cannot offer much if it is based upon nothing more than the limited motives of mere sex, or if it is inspired by considerations that usually prevail in a business partnership. It has to be undertaken as a real spiritual enterprise that is intended to discover what life can be at its best. When the two partners launch together upon the spiritual adventure of exploring the higher possibilities of the spirit, they cannot at the outset limit their experiment by nice calculations concerning the nature and amount of individual gain.
Can you read the last line again, please?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And must say this is a very important chapter for many of us.
sure.
When the two partners launch together upon the spiritual adventure of exploring the higher possibilities of the spirit, they cannot at the outset limit their experiment by any nice calculations concerning the nature and amount of individual gain.
Experience. Experiment, sorry. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Thank you.
I should read it again if I made a
No,
mistake.
no, no. No, no, no. No, it was fine.
You can highlight it if you want.
Yeah, I would actually like to highlight this line. Where is that? Yeah, so there is no doubt that some immense spiritual possibilities are accessible through married life, but all this depends on having the right attitude, right? Now, this is very, very rare in a spiritual text because the high bar for spirituality and the immediate association is always about abstinence, about what is it called? Celibacy and being single over being married. What I found interesting very early on in the early reads itself is how Baba takes the concept of marriage and twists it on its head and gives it the true position it deserves. And that was a revelation to me in the sense that it's the best way to work out a lot of sanskaras, right? So yeah.
Yeah.
Any other thought?
Basically, it is a celibate life, celibate married life, and this is not based on just sex. And actually, as Baba is saying, it gives you much more opportunities to. So the word is not used like that, but it actually gives you opportunity to get over your samskaras and spend them. Unless your attitude is wrong and then you get entangled further. Okay, Baba.
Correct. I mean, the idea is to create I mean, this chapter will reveal more on exactly what is expected as spouses in the Baba definition of marriage. And like Kama puts it, wish more and more people read this before they join the institution of marriage. The youth of the country, youth of the world rather, because we are going through a phase where the institution of marriage is probably under the severest threat in the modern world, right? Thanks to all the trends and thoughts that have become dominant. The idea of marriage is the least respected, more in the West and probably even in the East as we speak. So it's all the more important that the world looks up and sees this seriously. Let's
Been treated
continue.
as a contract of give and take.
No,
So
it's
yeah,
probably
yeah,
yeah,
generally.
that's a good part. That was probably the last 50 years. Right now,
Hmm.
it's even being questioned for its need, right? So more than a give and take, okay, so you don't need the institution of marriage to cohabit, right? So you can live together, you can share many things including money, and get access to physical sex and so on, and not necessarily be bound by any institutional responsibilities that come with marriage. And of course, children are not even on the list. So this is the new definition that is shaking the foundation of what social structures existed. And what Baba beautifully says is an important institution. So that's why I'm saying it's a great time to read this again. Yes, Ashok.
Yes. Next subtopic: married life utterly different from promiscuity. Married life almost always makes many demands upon both partners for mutual adjustment and understanding, and creates many problems that were not originally expected. Though this might, in a sense, be true of life in general, it is particularly true of married life. In married life, two souls get linked in many ways, with the result that they are called upon to tackle the whole complex problem of personality rather than any simple problem created by some isolated desire. This is precisely why married life is utterly different from promiscuous sexual relations. Sorry. Promiscuous sex attempts to separate the problem of sex from other needs of the developing personality and seeks to solve it in isolation from them. Although this kind of solution might seem to be easy, it turns out to be very superficial and has further disadvantage of sidetracking aspirants from the real solution. Subtopic: married life calls forth sublimation. The relative values of various sides of the limited personality can be best appreciated when they become intertwined and appear in varied settings and perspectives. It is difficult to discriminate between them if they appear fitfully in a disconnected series. If married life, in married life, there is ample room for varied experience, with the result that the different tendencies latent in the mind begin to organize around the crystallized scheme of married life. This organization of varied purposes not only provides an unlimited field for discrimination between the higher and lower values, but also creates between them a necessary tension which requires and calls forth effective and intelligent sublimation.
So, what do you think is the use of the word sublimation here? What's being um, said? Intelligent, effective, and intelligent sublimation. in my
I would read it as absorption.
your audio was not. Can you repeat, please? Sanjay, you want to repeat that?
Yeah. Now, yeah. My network was
Yeah. Sure.
basically uh, it is a meaning that says real absorption and reflection in the real sense. That's the sublimation. It has really got absorbed and becomes naturalized. Will that be a good
Yeah,
explanation?
that's one, and I think the other one is also the values, true values, right? Um, so you go from the lower to the higher. So here it is. This organization of varied purposes not only provides an unlimited field for discrimination between the higher and lower values, but also creates in them a necessary tension which requires and calls forth effective and intelligent sublimation. So sublimation is only talking about a recognition of the true values, which is a very core phraseology that Baba uses in discourses. And after you recognize those true values, move away from the false values and move towards the true values in your day-to-day life. That's the idea. And when you're doing that, it's, I think, the process of sublimation, as it's referred here.
Yeah. Well, excuse me, Karthik. Jai Baba Karthik. Where are
Sure,
you?
yeah.
Where are you reading that meanings, Karthik?
I'm not reading it from anywhere. I'm just saying what's the meaning that one should make in this para. Sublimation by in chemistry is basically, I think, uh, or this is
Evaporation.
psychoanalytic theory, divert or modify into a culturally
Evaporation
higher
of
or
ice into. Yeah, if you take ice, if it evaporates, then it's called sublimation.
yeah,
Ice
from
cubes,
it basically
sublimation.
bypasses one state. So if you
Yeah.
take camphor,
In,
you burn it, and then it from solid, it does not go to liquid and directly goes to gas,
yeah.
right?
So, but in spirituality, Baba talked about sublimation in
Mm-hmm.
the sanskaras.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes there are some obstructive samskaras which becomes a habit. And how do we get rid of it is diverting mind for a higher value in sense, love for God, something like that. If you divert your mind for that instead of, let's say I'm a drunkard, every day I go to liquor store, get some liquor, and come home and drink. One day, I thought for the love of Baba, I thought maybe I should give up drinking. So what do I do next day at the same time? My mind thinks, oh, go get a liquor and have some drink. And what I do, I keep on chanting Baba's name, reading God speaks. Few days, if you have the control like that, then you get rid of the habit. That's an example of a sublimation, as far as I understand. Diverting the mind for a higher cause is the spiritual sublimation. Jai Baba.
Yeah, so that's very close to my nuanced position as well. So lower to higher, and basically making that move as the consciousness of the soul is the sublimation in a spiritual sense in Baba's world. Okay,
I just
sure,
want to add
sure.
two thoughts. One is that this subtopic which is there in the earlier chapter on the problem of sex. It says it reads the subtopic is renunciation of craving through awakening. So
Mhm.
basically, you have to, it's the third subtopic. So,
Yeah,
so I think it's basically a renunciation of all craving, and also realizing that the goal towards which we are uh, to reach, and that is the to attainment of or getting divine love. And so from physical love to divine love, it's a transformation, and it has to come internally, is what was said in the early chapter. It has to be from within. It can't be either indulgence or repression. I think that's the main theme in the earlier chapter, but that was a good, precondition for, you know, being on the path. This is what I wanted to add.
Sure,
I-
sure. Absolutely. Good context.
Yeah. Uh,
Okay, we continue.
Conditions of marriage precipitate changes in inner life. This is the next subtopic. In one sense, married life may be looked upon as the intensification of most human problems. As such, it becomes the rallying ground for the forces of bondage as well as the forces of freedom, the factors of ignorance as well as the factors of light. As the married life of ordinary persons is determined by mixed motives and considerations, it inevitably invites an uncompromising opposition between the higher and lower self. Such opposition is necessary for the wearing out of the lower self and the dawning of the true divine self. Married life develops so many points of contact between two souls that severance of all connection would mean the unsettlement and disarrangement of practically the whole tenor of life. Since this difficulty of breaking away from one another invites and precipitates inner readjustment, marriage is really a disguised opportunity for the souls to establish a real and lasting understanding that can cope with the most complex and delicate situations.
I like the phrase disguised opportunity.
Yes, absolutely.
So
And yeah, yeah.
what one might think is a challenge or uh, a block in the way of spirituality, Baba says it's a disguised opportunity.
True.
Yeah,
Uh,
subtopic. Yeah.
Subtopic: married life must be in line with divine plan. The spiritual value of married life is directly related to the nature of the preponderant factors that determine its daily course. If it is based upon shallow considerations, it can deteriorate into a partnership in selfishness aimed against the rest of the world. If it is inspired by lofty idealism, it can rise to a fellowship that not only requires and calls for increasingly greater sacrifices for each other, but actually becomes a medium through which the two souls can offer their united love and service to the whole family of humanity. I'd like to read this line again. If it is inspired by lofty idealism, it can rise to a fellowship that not only requires and calls for increasingly greater sacrifices for each other, but actually becomes a medium through which the two souls can offer their united love and service to the whole family of humanity. When married life is thus brought into direct line with the divine plan for the evolution of the individuals, it becomes a pure blessing for the children who are the fruit of the marriage. For they have the advantage of absorbing a spiritual atmosphere from the very beginning of their earthly career. Next subtopic: married life enriched by children.
Any, you can pause to see any thoughts or questions or discussions.
Yeah. Anybody? Nobody. So I
Yeah,
continue.
please.
Though the children are thus the beneficiaries of the married life of the parents, the married life of parents is in turn enriched by the presence of children. Children give to parents an opportunity for expressing and developing a real and spontaneous love in which sacrifice becomes easy and delightful. And the part played by children in the life of parents is of tremendous importance for the spiritual advancement of the parents themselves. It therefore follows that when children make their parents in married life, they ought to be wholeheartedly welcomed by the parents. Subtopic: birth control. In view of claims that children have on married lives, birth control deserves careful attention and critical examination. The question must not be considered from the point of view of any special or limited interest, but from the standpoint of the ultimate well being of the individuals and society. Right opinion in this respect, as in all respects, must above everything be based upon spiritual considerations. The attitude that most persons have toward birth control is oscillating and confused because it contains an admixture of good and bad elements. While birth control is right in its aim of securing the regulation of population, it is disastrously unfortunate in the choice of its means.
Okay, it's the same subtopic. Yeah.
Okay. There can be no doubt that the regulation of childbearing is often desirable for personal and social reasons. Uncontrolled breeding intensifies the struggle for existence and may bring about a social order where ruthless competition becomes inevitable. Apart from creating a responsibility for parents, which they may be able to, which they may be unable to adequately discharge, it becomes an indirect and contributing cause of crime, war, and poverty. Though human and rational considerations demand and justify all serious attempts to regulate the birth of children, the use of physical means for securing this purpose remains fundamentally indefensible and unjustifiable. Next subtopic: physical means remove incentive for mental control. The purely physical means, generally advocated by the supporters of birth control, are most objectionable from the spiritual point of view. Although the physical means of birth control are advocated on humanitarian grounds, they are almost always used by the generality of people to serve their own selfish ends and to avoid the responsibility of bearing and bringing up children. Since the physical consequences of yielding to lust can be so successfully avoided through the use of these means, those who have not begun to awaken to higher values have no incentive to moderation in the gratification of passion. They thus become victims of excessive indulgence and bring about their own physical, moral, and spiritual ruin by neglecting mental control and becoming slaves to animal passion.
So, yeah, I think the key idea here is that mental control is superior, and
Yeah.
obviously, mental control doesn't have any incentive if if you're using physical means. Yeah.
So it again boils down to
Question here. What does Baba mean by birth control here? What does he mean by birth control? No, further, yeah.
Yeah. So what he means here is, I mean, it's the same probable reasons everywhere, right? He says personal and social. Personal because you're responsible for the kids growing up and expenditure on them, and social because we cannot be irresponsible and add to the burden of society and the world at large by creating more and more I mean by having more and more children. So does that answer your question? Or
Yeah, so in a way, he's saying birth control should be managed by mental control.
mental control? Yes.
like other way of prevention that people are doing is probably not recommended by Baba.
Yeah.
Is
So
that what I'm getting? Yeah.
yes, you're absolutely right. So what Baba is saying is, of course, birth control is important. Why? For the reasons that we discussed a minute back. Why? How is that done? Better done through mental control and not physical means. Why? Physical means remove the incentive for and move us. I mean, physical means make us more animalistic, make us more dependent and indulgent.
Indulgent.
Indulgent. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, whereas mental control is a refined way of recognition, and of course, it's also you can say sublimation, where you're able to move higher and not be uh, slave to lower desires.
Yeah, I got that. I never thought of it that way. In other words, Baba is saying we can get, I mean, people can get themselves into indulgence and of using
No.
physical means by relying on birth control, right? And
Yes,
trying to justify it that way. Whereas when you have a mental control, in a way, it's for your upliftment of your consciousness. You don't need to be relying on that stuff.
perfect.
Very nice.
Yeah, this
Mhm.
this line nails it, what you just said. Though humane and rational considerations demand and justify all serious attempts to regulate the birth of children, the use of physical means for securing this purpose remains fundamentally indefensible and unjustifiable because
Yeah.
it only promotes, yeah, it promotes all the wrong things. So you're right.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so we finished this paragraph, right?
No, I think
Maybe we can read from the purely physical means.
Okay, please.
Is that
I
okay?
think we finished, but we can read again. Yeah.
want
Go
me to
ahead.
read again? Okay. Physical means remove incentive for mental control. The subtopic. The purely physical means generally advocated by supporters of birth control are most objectionable from the spiritual point of view. Although the physical means of birth control are advocated on humanitarian grounds, they are almost always used by the generality of people to serve their own selfish ends and to avoid the responsibility of bearing and bringing up children. Since the physical consequences of yielding to lust can be so successfully avoided through the use of these means, those who have not begun to awaken to the higher values of have no incentive to moderation in the gratification of passion. They thus become victims of excessive indulgence and bring about their own physical, moral, and spiritual ruin by neglecting mental control and becoming slaves to animal passion. So basically, it's just that they are again saying it has to be internal and it has to come from within.
True, true, true. Hey, also I realized we can rotate reading if anybody wants to read. I'm just putting it out there. Yeah.
Absolutely, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So from when the easy use from here I start, right?
Oh, you want to read? Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You can start, Sanjay ji. From mental control indispensable for rising from passion to peace. Thanks, Ashok.
Welcome.
Jai
Thanks.
Baba. The easy use of physical means obscures the spiritual side of the question and is far from contributory to the awakening of individuals to their real dignity and freedom as spiritual beings. Thoughtless and uncontrolled indulgence must inevitably lead to reaction and spiritual bondage. For spiritual aspirants in particular, but also for all human beings because they are potentially spiritual aspirants. Okay. It is extremely inadvisable to rely upon physical means for the regulation of the childbearing. For such regulation, the individuals must rely upon nothing but mental control. But clear, yeah. Once again emphasized.
Yeah.
Mental control secures the humanitarian purposes that inspire birth control, but keeps clear of the spiritual disasters entailed by the use of physical means. Mental control is not only useful for regulating the number of children, but is also indispensable for restoring to the humanity its divine dignity and spiritual well being. Only through the wise exercise of mental control it is possible for humanity to rise from passion to peace, from bondage to freedom, and from animality to purity. In the minds of thoughtful persons, the much ignored spiritual side of the question must assume the importance it deserves. So, birth control, physical means, just is just not helpful to stop the childbearing, but it makes the people much more spiritually uh, advanced, if I may use that word, and benefits the people spiritually. And uh, I could sense that the whole humanity or the society also benefits from this, from the abstinence part. That's what I could gather. Okay. Any other comment?
Yeah, that Sanjay, that's
Yeah,
the key word,
yeah,
abstinence,
yeah.
and it has to come from within. I
Yeah.
think it's very you.
That's one. I mean, the once one as individuals we do it, the whole society becomes more advanced. As a race or as humans, the way we behave also is progressed. Yeah, that sense I am taking it. Actually. It's not just individuals. Actually. It's also the society and the whole humanity.
And, and
Yeah.
I just
Sure.
want to add that Karthik made very valid points that the institution of marriage is getting diluted, and since I teach a lot of young minds, you know, uh, I think this should be spread to the institutions wherever we can, so that the good thoughts and we create a better society.
Kama does a lot of work in this space, and I think you should do more. You should do more as well as you're connected on the academic side. Kama, I think even did this a few places where he talked to kids about marriage and relationship. Is that right, Kama?
Dr. Kama is silent these days.
But he's got a new phone, I think. Anyway,
Yeah,
continue.
that's right. Jay Baba. Yeah, I'm in Mehrabad, believe it or not, but Hostel D, having
Yeah, you did
breakfast.
a
But
session, right?
sorry.
You did the session, right? You did multiple sessions on this topic with various kids.
No, not exactly. No, 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 no. That was more of my career
No?
planning placement. But yeah, no, no.
Ah, okay.
I think what Baba talked about to school children and high school is more about academics and other stuff. No, nothing about this aspect. But
No, no,
what I wanted to,
I was
ah,
thinking you did it, but maybe you are well poised to uh, think up a good curriculum and do it actually, because you A, have access to kids, and B, obviously you can curate a good couple of sessions covering the ideas in these three parts, the part 5 part and the two parts on sex and renunciation, I mean married life. Go
right,
ahead, you're saying
right.
something else.
No, I was just trying to add to, what I've understood about this chapter and how it's related to, the significance of male and female incarnation. So I think we all know that childbearing is more for, that procreation. Sex is more for procreation, as we have seen in the animal kingdom, because they are programmed in a way during that mating period. But I think in the human kingdom, what has happened is we have this choice, and now, you use physical means to indulge without the problem of having children. But the main issue out here is basically, I think that we all know from different perfect masters that being a homemaker, being part of society is a good way to go through this process of, uh, God realization and so on. So I think the main theme in this whole journey, divine theme, is renunciation of desires of any kind. Even I think the desire for self realization is a kind of an oxymoron because we are already awakened, but because of the ego, that's the main thing out here. And of course, lust, which is carnal pleasure, which we talked about, is a very important challenge. So when we talk about mind control, I prefer to use the word awareness, self-awareness, because control is like Newton's third law of motion. Action becomes reaction. So control is a form of suppression or repression, which we read in the previous chapter. So just like Baba has said about selfishness and selflessness are caught in duality. One is golden chains and one is iron chains. Similarly, when we talk about suppression and repression, it is part of the dualistic aspect. The way to go beyond is to become self-aware, and I think that chapter on reincarnation, on the importance of going through both genders, is that the soul consciousness has no gender, but we have to play this role of both male and female, and we need to transcend this aspect of sexual duality, basically. So that is the biggest challenge, and the way to do it is through self knowledge, understanding, which is what we are doing by reading Baba's literature, and to be able to be self-aware, because it's very difficult to how should I say, we are all human beings, and we do have these kind of what do you call, lust, greed, anger, and so on and so forth. And so the whole idea is, I look at it more as a form of self-awareness, that when you get that thought, as long as you don't implement it, but you let it pass, which is what we call as unwinding sanskaras. That is one way of doing it. Jai Baba.
Sure. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much for that input. You can continue.
Yeah. Joint responsibility of parenthood. Since the woman has to undertake the trouble and responsibility of bearing and rearing children, she may seem to be affected more seriously by any possible failure in mental control than the man. In fact, it does not mean any real unfairness to the woman. While it is true that the woman has to undertake the trouble and the responsibility of bearing and rearing children, she also has the compensating joy of feeding and cuddling them. Thus, the joy of motherhood is much greater than the joy of fatherhood. Further, the man must also face and shoulder the economic and educational responsibilities for the children. In a property, in a properly adjusted marriage, there need not be any injustice to the distribution of parental responsibility to be shared between man and the woman. If both are truly conscious of their mutual responsibility, incon- inconsiderateness will give way to an active and cooperative endeavor to attain full mental control. In the event there is any failure in mental control, they will cheerfully and willingly discharge the joint responsibility of parenthood. So, lesson for all the men, uh, that they are also equally responsible for growing up the children, not just the mothers. So they must share the responsibility. That's one lesson that I could get. Any other comment, and then I can read further.
Now, any other comments
Yeah.
from the women on the call? Their perspectives. Namita.
This actually, this actually kind of uh, negates or enhances some of the belief in the West, where they think that the position of women are higher because they do more, and and so forth. Whereas Baba here says in a properly adjusted marriage, the responsibilities are well distributed. And in fact, the woman takes more joy from, bearing the children and raising them, because there's that human touch between them and, cuddling and feeding and so forth. So yeah, these are a good reminder that Baba does for us. And its mental control is very important, because what does it mean by mental control? Mental control, yes, it means it's awareness, but it's a little bit, what is it, half a step before awareness. For me, mental control is to have a vigil and responsible look at what we do, what we and what we, word and deed and thoughts. That's a mental control. So that means when we are getting educated by what Baba as a master expecting of us, then we're responsible. We do have a responsibility of fulfilling Baba's wishes as our master. Just the way we expect him to fulfill our wishes. Oh, Baba, do this for me. Baba, do that. Baba, this. Baba, that. So same way. It's both ways. And like mental control is not go to the past. Don't make a drama out of things. Don't do a fault finding. Oh, you did this to me. I got to do this to you. You did this the other day, and what happened? All that stuff. So it could be a vast array of things that to do and not to do. That's what Baba is, I think he's talking about here. Yeah, Jay Baba.
Correct, correct. And I would tend to think that we all know that how to grow that mental control, especially with reference to the subject that we are talking of, the sexual mental control, is uh, basically keeping away, constant remembrance, and keeping away from the visuals, thinking of Baba more and more than the lustful object, and forceful abstinence in the beginning, and then which gets naturalized as we, because you will need some discipline. I mean, discipline you may call a forceful abstinence, but a discipline would be needed. Constant commitment to ourselves would be needed. But I'm committing that I'll not fall into this for as many days as I can manage. So those kind of uh, personal commitments probably would be needed for us to get to a situation that it gets naturalized. Of course, sanskaras will play their role, but it's also our right action that can, uh, make us progress to that direction. It's not easy. It's very difficult. What Baba is saying, mental abstinence from mental control is very, very difficult. So that's I would like to probably think that what I must do to get to that situation. Yeah, yeah, Baba.
Beautiful, beautiful
Yeah,
thoughts.
Baba.
Yeah,
My observation is that there are a couple of things that Baba talked about. Childbearing. Why have children? One is, Baba's main mission statement: unconditional love and selfless service. So I think by being a parent, one becomes, like a mother has selfly, like unconditional love. The parents have unconditional love for their children. So it's one way of experiencing what is unconditional love because it comes naturally when you're a parent. But to have unconditional love for a stranger, it requires grace. Okay, number one. Number two is basically also, when you're rearing, when you're taking care of a child as a baby, different babies have different, how they behave. And yesterday, like you remember, like, the last couple of days, I had a couple, a Baba couple. I won't name names. They have their own child, but they also adopted this kid, and they had to come and do some final protocol thing. So I was very privileged to spend 3 days with the parents and the children, and to see the psychological aspect. So the what I wanted to say out here is that uh, the idea behind having children is also directly or indirectly to experience unconditional love and selfless service that is there. And on the other hand, when we talk about sexual addiction, it is just like any other addiction: addiction to alcohol, addiction to drugs, addiction to even work. Being a workaholic is also not a great thing. We all know that. So addiction in any form, and I think when we talk about carnal pleasure, it's a very, very challenging one. So these are different forms of addiction. And the idea is, does it mean that I stop enjoying myself? So my philosophy is enjoy, but don't get attached. So you can have a couple of drinks if you like drinking. You don't have to drink. That is always there. But if you feel like you can have one or two, but if you indulge in just getting becoming an alcoholic, then there's a problem there. So I think it's a very fine line from how
Right.
how we look at the situation, and accordingly we need to use our intelligence and self knowledge to do the appropriate thing. Okay, Baba.
Yeah, yeah. That's correct, Samaji. Of course, the lust becomes the most challenging part of this addiction to be taken off, and that's why it finds a special mention in the repentance prayer. Yeah, yeah, Baba. So, shall I continue?
yeah. Please, please,
Yeah.
please. Think-
Children must be welcome. For those who are not prepared to undertake the responsibility of children, there is only one course left to them. They must remain celibate and practice strict mental control. Though such mental control is extremely difficult to attain, it's not impossible. From the purely spiritual point of view, strict celibacy is best. But since it is so difficult, few can practice it. For those who cannot practice it, the next best course is to marry rather than fall prey to promiscuity. Within married life, one can learn to control animal passion. It is bound to be a gradual process, and in cases of failure in practicing control, the couple must allow nature to take its own course rather than interfere with its through artificial means. They must cheerfully welcome the consequences and be prepared to shoulder the responsibility of bringing up the children. Physical means become addictive. From the spiritual point of view, birth control must essentially be effected through mental control and nothing else. Physical means are under no circumstances advisable, even when the partners seek to use them merely as a provisional and secondary aid, without intending to ignore the ideal of developing mental control. While using physical means, they can never arrive at the real mental control, though they might truly want it in earnest. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
On the contrary, They become addicted to the use of physical means and even begin to justify them. To explain still more clearly, what happens in the use of physical means is that while the individuals think they are using them merely as a preliminary step before mental control is fully developed, they actually get addicted to their use and become slaves to the habit. Though they may remain for some time under the delusion that they are trying to develop mental control side by side with the use of physical means, they are actually losing it gradually. In
Hello.
short, yeah, can I complete this
Hello.
paragraph?
Hello, Miss.
Can I
Yeah.
complete this paragraph? Yeah.
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 I,
Okay.
Nomita, I think your mic is to be muted.
No need.
Are you saying something?
Yeah. No. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
In
Yeah.
short,
Please start from
mental,
though again, please.
though they may remain for some time under
Yeah,
the
please.
delusion that they are trying to develop mental control side by side with the use of physical means, they are actually losing it gradually. In short, mental power is necessarily undermined by reliance on physical means. Thus, the use of physical means, it is detrimental to the development of self-control and is positively disastrous for spiritual advancement. It is therefore entirely inadvisable, even for the best of motives. What he is saying, ये बीच का रास्ता नहीं चलेगा, you know.
Mm.
You will try to find, uh, it's so difficult. So let me do it once in a while. Let me, try to find a middle path. So there is no middle path here, actually. So that's what probably Baba is meaning. Yeah, Namita ji was saying something. Please.
Amita ji was saying that, you know, you cannot have the cake and eat it too.
Yeah,
No,
that's good.
I'm just joking. I'm
Yes.
just saying that, married life is not so easy, but it's your only way to nirvana. So keep going. If you're going through hell or to hell, keep going.
Yeah.
Hey, Baba.
Okay, Baba.
Yeah,
Spiritual advancement
I
through
have
married
a
life.
I have a comment to make.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, just roll it up a little bit. Uh-huh. But this is a fine point here that we must pay attention, and that is some people think that probably by being involved in physical aspect of a relationship, uh, eventually they gain the mental power to control it. Whereas Baba says here that it is not, they don't go together. Uh, yeah, this is what I got, or maybe I'm mistaken. It says, thus the use of physical means is detrimental to the development of self-control and is positively disastrous for a spiritual advancement. Uh-huh. Okay. But he says that it is detrimental to the development of self-control, yet it is disastrous for a spiritual advancement.
Yeah. So,
So it means, what I'm getting is, it means if we can, Baba, like we talked about it last week too, just don't get involved in it. And we can always ask Baba to help us. We can always ask Baba to help us, and he helps. And that's my faith and experience. So, in order to go through that, fulfilling your animal sanskaras, Baba says, and all that, and then eventually grow out of it to gain the mental control, what I'm getting is Baba says completely put it aside and just develop a mental control without it. Yeah. I mean, even for people who have a lot of lost samskaras, you know, that doesn't mean that they need to fulfill their lost samskaras by getting into the physical action. They can restrain themselves from it if they are with Baba and ask him to help. And you can always redirect your energy. You can, just get involved, travel to Samadhi, stay in Baba environment, read it, coming to the meetings like this, read Baba's books, watch his movie, that just always remember him, and that will help. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, somebody wants to read.
So, Jai Baba, I have a question to the forum. Like, what is the difference about being celibate and not indulging in it? Number one. And number two is we have seen in the church cases of where when you join the church, you're supposed to be celibate, right? And then we have heard a lot of different scandals. It is good to know we all understand the concept of celibacy and all that stuff. It's good to read all this, but every person's, sanskaric impressions are very different, especially with terms of lust. Absolutely. So I, I mean, I believe whatever everybody said here, but it is a very, very tough thing. I believe only the grace of Baba. Suppose I'm a addict, drug addict, and I want to get rid of drug addiction, I have to work at it, right? Similarly, you have to work at this. But uh, what I've observed is the grace is important to be able to, get rid of some of these habits or addictions. Just my understanding, Jay Baba. Like
Correct.
alcohol anonymous
Yeah,
people go
correct.
to, or
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
absolutely, Kamaji. And it's up to us that we make ourselves worthy of that grace, actually. So, with that, it completes the whole circle, actually. So, our efforts plus Baba's grace. Yeah, Baba.
I
That's
Let me
think
I would.
one
can I
thing,
Yeah.
comment. Can I comment on Kama's comments? The difference between a celibate is voluntarily choosing to be a celibate, an individual. Whereas if you compare to a Orthodox church like Catholics, some of them they join the Catholicism in the priesthood because of their background or their poverty, or they get a job, and then they're not able to control their mental affinity for the sexual feelings, and they go into all the shortcuts and bylanes. That's the difference if you're looking for the difference. But Baba said, if you're married and if you have sexual life with your partner alone, that's okay, as long as you are in control of it. That won't come in the spiritual path. But if we go overdo it, that's the problem. Even being in the marriage, you can have a controlled sex. No, Baba didn't say don't have sex with the married life. Well, that's okay. Those are my comments. Jai Baba.
I have one comment to make. I think clearly Baba, through discourses last week and this week, he is suggesting celibacy, but the conscious celibacy, not to deprive yourself, not to lie to yourself, and stuff like. Coming to this awareness and alertness that you are choosing to live such life. Okay, like monks, for example, in monastery or some others. So they choose to live that kind of life, and there are people who are in married life, yet they carry that. because they're beyond all this physical sensation and all that stuff, physical sensation, addiction, and getting enjoyment through the five senses. They're beyond that. And Baba says here, here he says that it's positively disastrous for a spiritual advancement. So if people cannot be celibate and so forth, Baba says, okay, it's okay. But if you have a spiritual advancement in mind, then you can't have both. Somebody said you can't sit between two chairs. Yeah, you can't. Either or. It's like that. And as far as all the disaster that happened in the church, it is very, very unfortunate. And that, for me, I always look at it as the hypocrisy in the name of religion, that these people are joining church and they make an oath to, stay celibate or pure and but they really cannot. They cannot. By design, they're not there. So what do is they do it behind the scene. They do the lustful actions with, anyway, any means that they can get, unfortunately. And, we need to do better than that, not to be in the church in the name of God and commit to those actions. But it is where we are. It is what it is for now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, we can. There's just one paragraph, Sanjay. Do you want to finish it?
Yes. Spiritual advancement through married life. In the beginning of married life, the partners are drawn to each other by lust as well as love. But with conscious and deliberate cooperation, they can gradually lessen the element of lust and increase the element of love. Through the process of sublimation, lust ultimately gives way to deep love. By the mutual sharing of joys and sorrows, the partners march on from one spiritual triumph to another, from deep love to ever deeper love, till the possessive and jealous love for the initial period is entirely replaced by a self giving and expansive love. In fact, through the intelligent handling of marriage, they may traverse so much of the spiritual path that it needs only a touch by a perfect master to raise them into the sanctuary of eternal life. Wow. Beautiful. Jai Baba. Thank you.
So it brings in what all of you were saying, grace, right? So grace is a key ingredient um, in the sanctification of married life. So lean on Baba, and I'm sure we will be able to, with the spiritual aspiration in mind, handle the um, uh, lower desires as well as the institution of marriage in the right way as it should be done. Right. So, yeah, I think how much time do we have? We have 15 minutes. So let's probably take the next chapter.
Let me sing a bhajan towards the end, if everybody is okay with that.
Okay, then we can pause here then instead of taking up the next one. Now, that's a good idea. Let's do a bhajan. We have a good
Yes, let's do a
turnout as well
bhajan.
today.
Just give me a minute.
Sure, sure, sure.
What Baba moments did you face this week? Where all did you see Baba?
Interview
Yeah, Baba.
question.
I have a
If
question.
you are not prepared,
How did you? feel? Where all did you feel Baba this week?
This week.
In my
Multiple,
spouse,
I mean,
did you?
Oh yes, multiple times. He's like my friend, you know. He's there.
Yeah.
No, first you said, otherwise you'll say I take all the airtime. Anybody else? Karthik, did you find Baba this week?
Well,
of course, I'm
Nomita,
trying
I can
to.
say that
Yes.
I can say that you're consciously seeing Baba. Baba is always around us, but we are unconscious about him. So you're very
Yeah.
privileged if you're seeing him all the time.
I would
Yeah.
second. Yes. Yeah. You know, he kind of,
Yes.
whenever I see a wall, he finds a solution. And it's exactly what I was looking for. And then I say, oh my God, Baba. And he's so cute. Our Baba is living God. He's not up there on the wall or the picture. He is, he's real.
In
Yeah.
fact, talking of which, this was the topic that Jeff Wolverton ran on Baba Zoom this week, incidentally. I don't know if anybody caught it. Uh, the topic was, how does Baba get in touch with us in day-to-day life, as we are leading our lives? And it was fascinating, and I would strongly recommend listening to it. There's so many different little anecdotes and episodes which underlined the gift of intuition to humanity that Baba has given. Um, and I agree with Kama. A few are more privileged than a few others, right? So, Namita, kudos to you.
No, it's just Baba indulges us, and then because my brain doesn't work as fast and as complicated as you guys, so I just see him in everything I do or seek. Yeah, so yeah, I would say I'm very privileged. Sanjay ji,
That
गाना सुनाओ.
you that the fact that you joined a Baba family itself is a great thing.
Yeah, it's by invitation.
And my invitation, yes. That's true. That's true. Yeah.
वो वाला सुनाइए, बाबा मैं चरणन छोड़ न जाऊं.
Oh, oh.
So, Nomita, you're saying that more than Sunil, you hit the lottery ticket, the holy grail of getting into Baba's grace.
I think we hit it together. Baba gave me to him and he to me, and both of us have Baba. So we have a triple whammy. Oh, we are privileged. Baba is beautiful in both our lives. It's not before after. It's like, we are in acknowledgement of that divine presence, and that he only exists and he leads us, and the little turns and crevices we see around, he still protects us. He solves it for us, and we are in acknowledgement of that. We don't think it's just by fluke. It's Baba saying, "Hi, mere bacche, बिचारे, hi." So वो हमारा दुख उनसे बर्दाश्त नहीं होता है. So he'll just fix it somehow. And he is that divine beloved father. So much grace. He says, "Acha, okay, let me do it for you." He's like a parent. He's like a parent who wants to solve your things and takes everything on himself and gives you so much grace and vision to see whatever privileges he has bestowed on this. And I don't feel heaven is another life, another world, another century. Heaven is in this moment when you feel wah, and that wah comes out of Baba's presence in you. And that I think is heaven for all of us. Yeah.
So beautiful. It's true.
It's,
Thank
it's
you.
the it's the beautiful third team uh, of Sunil and Namita.
Yeah. हम दरबदर हो गए. तुम लोग सारे पर्दे में
Okay,
क्यों हो?
Sanjay ji.
Yeah, I'll sing what I thought of singing. Maybe Nomita ji will sing that bhajan. I'll sing next Sunday from Mehrabad. So I'll be there
Ah,
next Sunday.
lovely.
So I'll sit in my balcony and sing it for you, all of
वाह
you,
जी वाह.
for Baba. Yeah. So this bhajan is by Madhusudan. This talks of that the golden opportunity that you have and that the God has come to you, Baba has come to you with a pot of Amrit. He's ready to give you. So don't distract yourself from here and there. That's what is the base message. And as the lines come, I'll try to say them in English. Yeah. देख आया है द्वार तेरे जीवन का सार देख आया है द्वार तेरे जीवन का सार लेके अमृत कलश वो खड़ा है जाग रे खोल तेरे मन के दुआर जाग रे खोल तेरे मन के दुआर देख आया है द्वार तेरे जीवन लेके अमृत कलश वो खड़ा है जाग रे सोने वाले खोल तेरे मन के दुआर जाग रे खोल तेरे मन के दुआर हो मत वाले बावरे होश अब संभाल रे नीरस में देखता क्या चावरे नीरस में देखता क्या चावरे the world is so nearest, but still you try to find the pleasure out of this nearest world. That's what it is. नीरस में देखता क्या चावरे आई जीवन की भोर देना करवट अब और छोड़ सपने वो झूठे अब जागरे we are all sleeping in the dreams छोड़ सपने वो झूठे अब जागरे पावरे खोल तेरे मन के दुआर पावरे खोल तेरे मन के माया तो उजड़ा बन तू समझा है मधुबन माया तो उजड़ माया is like a dry forest and we think it is like a pleasure garden माया तो उजड़ा बन तू समझा है मधुबन नीरस हो महकी फुलवारी रे मोहन ने बांसुरी अनहद की ललकारी मोहन ने बांसुरी अनहद की ललकारी तुझको सुनाने आया बावरे तुझको सुनाने आया बावरे आगरे खोल तेरे मन के दुआर बावरे खोल तेरे मन के दुआर नेक्स्ट लाइन इज घायल भी हो के नहीं छोड़त बन निर्जन ही रस अनूठा ढूंढ रहा क्यों भवरे घायल वी कीप गेटिंग हिट बाय द माया वी you know we are in plane and everything happens but still we try to stick to it so that bhavara is like who's trying to find a nectar out of a flower so like that we try to find the pleasure out of the maya घायल भी हो के नहीं छोड़त बन निर्जन ही रस अनूठा ढूंढ रहा क्यों भवरे मोहन ही मेहर बन के अवतारे कल जुग के मोहन ही, अवतारे कल जुग के मधुसूदन देख खुले भाग रे. Madhusudan said, how fortunate you are. मधुसूदन देख खुले भाग रे, जागरे खोल तेरे मन के दुआर, आवरे खोल तेरे मन के द्वार. देख आया है द्वार तेरे जीवन, देके अमृत कलश लो रहा है, जागरे अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय. Thank you.
So
Great,
Thank you
great
very
song, Sanjay.
Thank
Great
beautiful.
song. Enjoyed.
Thank you so much.
Jai
Thank you
Baba.
so much.
Jai Baba.
By the way, those of you who haven't met Praveen, Praveen is from Oman. Do you want to say hello to everybody, Praveen? He knows a lot about us. We know very little about him. So
Yeah. Praveen, better if you could
Hi everybody. Hi,
put
hi,
your
hi. Good
video
morning
on.
and Jai Baba,
Would be
everyone.
great. Yeah. Put
Yeah,
your
we'd
video
like to
on.
see.
if possible.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, we like to see the face behind the name.
Yeah,
So
even
one
same here,
second.
Praveen.
One second. I am just putting it down. I'm not sure if you can see.
Oh,
Wow, wow. No,
Today
no.
is Sunday.
Jai Baba.
Actually, fortunately, today has been a leave for me, and I just left my family in India and came back to Oman so I could join the call because I have a
Okay.
kid of just 4 years and I had to take care of him. That's why I couldn't be joining the calls, but I have been following all these calls online on YouTube for a very long time. That's why I got in touch with Karthik when I had got one of the some doubts and all. And fortunately, I could meet even Karthik last week when I had last month when I had been to Dubai. Uh, and it was really a great thing for me because, as I already informed Karthik, I had never met a Baba lover in my whole life. I had been Baba lover since my childhood, but except my family, I had never met in my general social life. I had never met a Baba lover outside my social life. So it had been a really great time for me, which I had spent with Karthik last week, and
that was very
it was with
touching. Yeah,
and.
the statement you made was very touching. Yes, thank you so much. And I was happy to be part of that
And with
experience.
that grace, Baba called me to Samadhi, and fortunately, I had been to Samadhi last week. It was a sudden trip. So last Friday, I had been to Samadhi, and I had been to then come back again. Just yesterday, I had been back to Moscow. Um, Hopefully, for another 3 weeks, I'll be regularly joining the calls, no problem. But after that, again, it would
Very
be
good. Very good.
because
Very good. Look
it will be
forward.
difficult when my kid is here. And will slowly, probably in a year or two, then again it would be normal. But it is really great that I'm with you, and probably in future I'll be active in the group as well. I'll try to discuss more. Today I've just been a spectator. I didn't try to discuss much because uh, I'm just understanding the tempo of the discussion and everything. So in future, probably I might even get joined with the discussions as well.
Jai
Thank
Baba.
you
Jai
so
Baba.
much.
Welcome,
Thank you
welcome
so
to our
much.
group, Jai Baba, Praveen.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Jai Baba.
Okay,
Jai
before
Baba.
we sign
Jai
off,
Baba
thank you
to
so much
everyone.
for that intro, Praveen. Before we sign off, don't forget, those of you who are not in Mehrabad next week, don't forget to stay in silence. We are supposed to be in silence wherever we are and in whatever responsibilities that we're doing. So, all the best for Silence Day for all of you, wherever you are. And those of you who are privileged to be in Mehrabad, enjoy.
Remember us.
Jai Baba.
Remember us.
Remember us, remember
Yes, yes.
us.
तो
Ye-
संजय जी, बाबा से मेरी हेलो करना, एक दो
Yes, yes.
हग वग देना, बोलना कि नौमिता याद कर रही थी.
हम सब की तरफ
I'll,
से
I'll call you on 11th. Yeah. Jai Baba.
Yeah.
Sanjay ji, I really enjoyed your song. Actually, I really enjoy Baba's songs. I always, for the whole day, I'll be listening them and really enjoyed your songs. I would love
Jai.
to listen again and again. Yeah.
Sure,
Thank you.
anytime. Jai
एनी
Baba.
टाइम या ऑफिस के टाइम फोन कर लेगा, कहेगा गाओ.
Oh, wow. So ये difficult
Bye,
है.
man.
संजय जी,
Okay.
सोलफुल वॉइस. और आप जब जा रहे हो मेहराबाद, तो यू आर एम्बेसडर फॉर ऑल ऑफ अस.
Yes, yes.
हमारी भी प्रार्थना करना उधर यार.
Yeah. So next Saturday, Sunday sessions will be from the MBA site office.
Okay.
जय बाबा.
Yay, very good, very good, very good.
Yes.
Jai Baba. Jai Baba.
Have a good one. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.